Hello and welcome to the September TCL Teen Bake-Along. I am Marilyn, your teen librarian, and this is one of 3 recipes that we will be making this month. Thanks in part to a generous grant by the Institute of Museum and Library Services through the Library Services and Technology Act administered by the State Library of Oregon. And in this video, we are going to be making CopyCat Nutter Butters. Now, I don't know if any of you have had Nutter Butters before. I feel like they're not as common as they used to be, but essentially it's just a peanut butter cookie in the shape of a peanut with a peanut butter filling. It's like a sandwich. It's an Oreo, but it's all peanut butter. And it's surprisingly very easy to make. The recipe that we're using is 5 ingredients for the cookies, a little bit more for the filling, but the cookies themselves are very easy to make. You only need a couple things. So, tie on your aprons and let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is preheat your oven to 350. I've got that going. I don't know if you can hear the fan there. And your baking sheets are all non-stick, so you don't need to worry about lining them or anything, but just have that ready to go. The next thing you're going to do is you've got your bowl, and you will need, well, try a spoon. A spoon to get that peanut butter out of there, but we're adding in your peanut butter. If you have a rubber spatula, that'll be good to go. That'll be easier to use, but if not, you can just use a spoon. Add in your flour. And your maple syrup. And I'm going to use, it should all come out pretty easily, but just in case. All right. And then take your spoon and mix it all together. This is going to be really thick and might take a little bit to sort of get it all into a big homogeneous lump of dough. But you want to make sure it's just all well mixed together. No streaks of flour or maple syrup. Oh, it smells really good too. Ooh. All right, that's perfect. So it almost just looks like peanut butter, just a little bit lighter. So, I'm going to use a spatula. There we go. Scrape that all off. And just kind of gather all of that dough into one big lump. Perfect. Look at that. That was so easy. That came together so fast. Now, we want to get the dough into about 1/2 inch-ish balls, but you don't need to be too specific. This one might be a little bit big, though, so I will take some of that off. Essentially, if your cookie is bigger than about 1/2 inch, that's fine. So just roll it all up together. It's still soft, but you can see it still comes together into a ball. There we go. Okay, and you do want to place these right next to each other. That's how we're going to get our peanut shape. So once you've got all your little dough balls placed next to each other, you're going to take a fork and press that in, whoop, there we go, to each of them in a crisscross pattern, the best you can. They are going to be kind of sticky, to sort of make that Nutter Butter crisscross shape on it. Woo. This might take a second depending on how sticky your dough is, but that's okay, keep at it. There we go. So we've got our nice little peanut shapes here. And that's all we need to do to prep the dough. My oven went off while I was rolling them all out. So we're gonna bake these at 350 for about 12 minutes. Keep an eye on them. We just want to sort of see those edges hardening up. With a cookie, you never want it to look completely brown all over because that means it's going to be real dry. So let's get these in the oven and then we will be back in about 12 minutes. So I'm just getting our Nutter Butter cookies out of the oven, and it's hard to tell because they're already kind of a light brown themselves, but just around the edges we got a little bit of golden brown going on, which means they are ready. So what we're gonna do is take these out, put them on a cooling rack, or if you don't have one, you can just leave them on the cookie sheet, let them cool until they're, you know, cool. And while these cool, we will make that peanut butter filling. So while our Nutter Butter cookies are cooling, we're going to make that frosting. So we have our softened butter and our peanut butter. We're going to start by whipping those together until they're all combined. And this will probably just take a little bit of strength, especially if your butter isn't totally soft. I think, yeah, ours is fine though. There we go. Just kind of whipping it together. If you have a hand mixer, that will work even better, but I'm just showing you how to do it if you don't have a hand mixer. So let's just whip this all up until it's all combined. So you're all finished mixing when it looks like this. So you can see it's just lightened up a bit because we've put all the butter in there. It's also completely smooth. You want to make sure that you whip it all around until there are no more little lumps of butter in there. So once that's finished, when you get your powdered sugar, I recommend sifting it because then you don't have to deal with lumps there either. I just happen to have a teeny tiny sifter. If you don't though, that is okay. I'm just doing it because I have that extra and I've made frosting before. Normally it's a bigger problem when you're making a lot of frosting, but since we're only making like a little bit, it's not that big of a deal. It's also less messy if you don't if you don't sift it. But where's the fun in that? If you're gonna bake something, you might as well make it nice and messy, right? There we go. All right, we've got all our powdered sugar nice and sifted in there. So now you're gonna do about the same thing that you were doing when you were mixing the butter and the peanut butter. Just whip it all around. A little more carefully, obviously, because you don't want this powdered sugar will just like fly up out of it. And this is where you should also have your water or your milk or your heavy cream or whatever you want available. Essentially just a liquid in case it gets too dry, as it looks like mine is. Just because that peanut butter, butter, and powdered sugar. Because we obviously want it to be a frosting consistency, but right now, yeah. See, it looks more like cookie dough. So what I'm gonna do you can just use water, but what I've learned in cooking is always use something that will give a little bit of extra flavor. Water's fine, but it doesn't add anything. I'm adding just a little bit of this coffee creamer that I have, just because I think it'll be tasty. There we go. You can see that smoothing things out. We don't want it to become fully liquid, obviously, but we want it a little more smooth than this. By contrast, if you have the opposite problem, if it's too wet, just sift in a little bit of powdered sugar at a time and mix it all together. Yeah, we're gonna do just a little bit more liquid here. There we go. I think that'll be good. And then when you add liquid, oops, that's why we have aprons. When you add liquid, also just be careful so you don't splash it all over the place. Just not a fun time. There we go. Oh, see this? Yeah, this is looking perfect. See how it's smooth? It doesn't look as much like the cookie dough as it did before. Yes. There we go. Perfect. It's got some structure, but it's still smooth. So that's perfect. So now we get our cooled cookies. Grab the ones as best you can that fit together. Might not all be uniform size, but that's okay. we're gonna use a knife. Grab as ever much frosting that you want. Make yourself a Nutter Butter sandwich. I don't even have any recommendations for this. It's literally just however much frosting you want to put in there. Aha. And there you have it. You have made a copycat Nutter Butter. Let's take a bite and see how it looks. It's very rich. You will definitely need milk or something to drink, but it's really good. And you can also use this to make just peanut butter frosting too if you want, for just anything else. Frosting isn't too hard to make once you know how to do it, and it's just a good skill to have. So that's gonna do it for our copycat Nutter Butters. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you enjoyed these cookies. I hope you have fun making them. And I hope you enjoy the rest of our September Bake Along videos, and we will see you next time.